Day 3, folks. I hope you're enjoying all the content in our event tools for a smooth running school year. We are just having a blast with this. Lots of amazing content. Yesterday, we talked about ways to de-stress and how our kids really are connected to our stress energy. So we need to get that in check. And then day 1, we talked with Michael Larson, who is a teen coach. He works with a lot of teens and parents and helps them to really navigate the sometimes rocky waters that happen during those teen years. But my name is Dale Ecuyer, and I love helping families create health and harmony using holistic mental wellness solutions. I talk a lot about the physiological pieces, and I'm going to do that later in this event. But today, we got some great tools for you. I have Adrienne Bishop with me today. She's a positive, disciplined parent educator and a life coach. She brings really tangible skills of how to respond to our kids, how we can change our language. And we're going to talk today about how to get out of the house with just calm and peace and start the day off right. So, Adrienne, thank you so much for being with me today. I really appreciate you. Yeah. So tell us what you got. What are some tools that you would recommend, how to set it up? Give us what you got.
Yeah. So typically I have parents coming to me. The reason I came up with this idea, I call it time anxiety. So it's not just for mornings, but I'm going to specifically talk about it in regards to the morning. It's almost like, the idea where we're rushing. And the reason we're worried is because we're going to be late, right? We're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to be late. Somebody's going to be disappointed. My boss is going to be disappointed. The school is going to be disappointed. Somebody's going to judge me, right, for being late. And sometimes we don't even realize that that's why we're having these anxiety panic moments when we're trying to get kids out the door. So usually I talk to my parents about why are you concerned? What is the concern about when it comes to needing the kids to be out the door and getting that panic? What is the panic from? Mm-hmm. And almost always it's something in the future that they're concerned about in regards to how people will perceive them, right? Or how people will judge them, or if they'll feel disappointed in themselves. And so I think when it comes to the morning, we always want to think about what really is our fear behind that panic. We just assume that that's what we have to do. Get out on time, rush. But I want you to really think, if you are struggling with this, why? What is your biggest fear? And so what happens is time anxiety actually comes from worrying about the future. It's not really about the present, almost ever. And so we're just afraid of something happening in the future. And when this happens, the present becomes really challenging and we get stressed. And just like Dale was talking about for yesterday, the idea of a parent being stressed also influences the child's, the energy from the parent also influences the child. So if you're in a panic and you're really, really, in a tizzy because you want to somehow, you think being on time is the ultimate, accomplishment for that morning, then you're going to end up kind of influencing your child's mood and their energy. And if you can imagine them being stressed, they're not going to really want to be receptive to what you're asking them to do. And I've noticed that when I'm in that place, my kids will resist me more and listen to me less, right? So the idea is that we want to be aware that we think if we can somehow rush to create an on-time situation, we can prevent being feeling a certain way in the future, feeling disappointed, feeling shame because someone's judging us. So our brain is naturally supposed to do this. It's supposed to prevent us from feeling bad, right? We don't want pain. We want pleasure. So it thinks if I can rush now and be on time, I can avoid all that pain. But in the meantime, it's creating this really crazy state in the present and you're feeling like poop, right? In the moment, right? So one of the things that we want to make sure is that we want to remember that you will not feel any better in the future than you do right now. There's no guarantee that if you rush right now, you will have this amazing moment in the future somewhere. And the other thing is you have the opportunity right now to feel the way you want to feel in the future. And that's what we want to go toward. We want to go toward the idea of how do I want to feel while I'm getting my kids ready for school? Most of the time, a lot of us want to feel, like you said, calm and peaceful. So we can get to those places through changing how we think about the disappointment we're going to create or why we need to be on time. And so you want to have a thought that really helps you to stay present. My favorite thought is whatever needs to get done will get done exactly at the right time. I will always have time for everything I need to do. Or the idea of whenever I get there is exactly the right moment, right?
Yeah. It's so interesting what you're saying, because it really does. It kind of does piggyback on what we talked about yesterday and how our state influences our kids. So if we're rushing, they're sensing that. And I can just see, and I can remember this too, like the more we rush, the more they just kind of like sink in and start dragging their feet.
Yeah.
It's like the exact opposite of what we want.
Exactly.
So it's like really interesting, this dynamic and what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But what can we do in terms of, absolutely our thoughts? Because if we have these thoughts like you're talking about, like what it's going to be in the future, which we don't know really,
right?
That's distracting us from A, being calm, and B, being present. So if we can put more energy into calm and presence, things are going to go smoother. But what can you do, like tangible tricks? Like to start the morning off, maybe stuff that you did the night before.
Sure.
To set the stage for a calm school, morning.
Yes, for sure. You want to be able to have as little to do as you possibly can in the morning, of course. So if you can prepare as much in advance, beautiful. So there's always those kinds of practical tips. So think about lunches, all those things you can do the night before. And sometimes we just don't have the time to do those the night before, right? It's just like, so you have to do some of it in the morning. It can feel like a lot. So if that does happen, let's say you still have a little bit of, oh my gosh, how am I going to get all this done? I have so much to do. It's really a great way to be present is to connect with your child. And I always say this about bedtime too, because in bedtimes, we're trying to get to the next step of relaxing, right, by ourselves. So a lot of us are trying to rush through bedtime, and then the kids are trying to be with us, and we're just like, So when you do that in the mornings, they will feel that disconnection. So if we want to get to calm and peaceful, one of the tips I have in the morning is to slow down and connect with your child. So let's say you're like trying to get them to put their shoes on and they are refusing, or they're just like distracted or whatever. You just want to sit next to them, because this feels like it's going to take a ton of time, right? I don't have time to sit down next to them and ask them, a question or something, but just sit down next to them and connect in some way that isn't specifically about the shoes. Because all they're hearing is do this, do that, get this going, move, rush, get her. And that's not motivating for a kid if there's no connection involved. So we always want to kind of, weave it in. I actually do it in the morning when I'm waking up my child. I'll say, instead of get up, we got to go, you got to put your clothes on, we got to move. I'll say, hey bud, it's so good to see you this morning. I love you. Did you have a good night? We probably should be getting up in a couple of minutes. I'll come back, and just gently kind of connect with them. And I noticed that with my kids, that puts them in a really good place. I mean, probably not all me, but just that really does help put them in a good place to be receptive to my, asking them to do something, which isn't fun. They're like, I don't want to go. I don't want to leave the house. This is awesome. Like, I'm just chilling out. I'm just having fun. So it really does lower resistance when you're able to connect with them. And so I would definitely recommend even asking them questions that aren't related to the things you need them to do. Like, hey, what are you going to do when you get home? Are you going to play Pokemon with your friend? It's going to be so fun. Oh, it's really nice out today. Like, what do you think? You're going to go out on the play. What are you going to play at recess? Or something really simple to connect with them, or just get their eye contact. Sit down and just make sure they're looking at you when you ask them to do something. And that can be a connecting piece too. And then I have a lot of the positive discipline tools are just like miracle workers when it comes to getting kids to actually move and listen and complete what you need them to do task-wise. So those are things like giving choices, using enforceables, which are like, when you have your shoes on, then you can play with your toy, right? Because usually the kids go right for the toys and they don't have half their stuff on. So I usually have them get ready and say, you're welcome to play with your toys as soon as you're ready for school. That includes shoes and clothes and backpack. And that has usually helped a lot with the idea of, okay, I actually get a chance to play. I don't have to like grab it now. Like I can have that opportunity in a little bit of time. So we do want to use those tools as much as possible. Always talking about the kind and firm is my favorite. Like, I know you're probably kind of tired. I get it. And it's time to go. And then lead with a choice. Would you like me to put on your shoes, or do you want to do it yourself? Obviously for littler kids, but that sort of idea, those tools are amazing.
Say that one more time. Like, what did you call it?
It's called kind and firm.
Kind
So
and firm. Okay.
what you do is you validate what the child is feeling in the moment, and then you add the firm statement with a word and in between. And the idea is that there's no but, which kind of feels different to
Oh,
our
yes.
ears,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
I love this tool. It works
One word. It's
beautifully.
unbelievable.
Yep. So I know it's hard to leave the house when you're having such a good time with your toys and it's time to go to school. Do you want to run to the door or skip? Right. So obviously, again, that's for a younger kid, but that tool will help them to know, oh my gosh, mom gets me or dad's listening to me. I don't have to fight them as much. They hear me, they get me. Right. So that's one of the tools that I'm obsessed with.
Amazing. And it all goes back to connection. And when
It
they
does.
feel connected, they're less resistant, like you said,
Mhm.
more cooperative, and you get, a smooth running morning and evening. I love it.
Mhm.
So good. Just like simple little tweaks. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And the whole thing of getting, even like at night, like getting the kids to maybe help you, even as simple as putting a bowl on the table with a spoon, like if that's going to be your morning, like
Setting up the table. Yep.
yeah, like even little silly things, or letting the child pick out the outfit that they're going to
Yep.
wear, have it on their bed, like simple things like that, that just because we want our kids to start the day like with a good feeling, not like this rushed, anxious, like, oh my
Somebody
God.
yelling at them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Like who wants that, right? So
Yeah.
good. So Adrienne, tell us about your group. Tell us about
Sure.
your coaching and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I have a Facebook group called Calm Confident Parenting. And actually, I have been narrowing down to talk specifically to highly sensitive parents and highly sensitive kids. So if you don't know what that is, basically in general, it's people that tend to have more intense emotions. They feel more physical sensations when they're emotional, like they feel it in their bodies more intensely. Also, when it comes to kids, there's a lot of texture issues with eating. There can be clothes that bother them, right? Tags, jeans, that kind of thing. If your kid's telling you that their socks, their seams are bothering them, that's a pretty strong indicator. A lot of times people that are highly sensitive can feel a lot of shame. They don't want to make mistakes, right? They're sort of on the people pleasing spectrum. So, and it's more strong and in deep in than like a non-highly sensitive person, where it comes up pretty frequently with the shame. And then the idea of like, a lot of times they're perfectionists, or they try not to make mistakes just because they don't want to feel those strong pain, that pain. And also they're very empathetic. So a lot of times with parents, they're relating to their kids' emotional state to the point where they struggle to feel, anything but. So if their kid is upset, they're upset. So the moods are sort of transferring back and forth with kids and parents, which is why it's really important as a highly sensitive parent to learn some of the tools that I teach, because otherwise you're just going to be in this drama, like roller coaster for your whole kid's childhood. And it's going to be so challenging to get in that place of, like I said, calm confidence, so that you can enjoy the kids and, actually have those feelings that you want in your family. So that's one of the things that I really focus on. That's Calm Confident Parenting Facebook group is what I have. And then I work one-on-one with clients and parents. Sometimes I work with couples. Sometimes I work with one parent. And that's how I coach. And I'm actually offering a webinar if they're interested. If you're interested, it's called How to Follow Through with what you say to your kids. So it's the idea of, I love this webinar. It's so much fun to teach. And it's all about like, when we tell our kid to do something, or we enforce a rule or some sort of limit, and they flip out, right? Or they get upset, or they refuse to follow it, how to handle that. Because it's so hard to stick to what you say and be consistent when you should be. And it's really easy to give in when your kid just decides like, I'm just going to throw a fit. So this is my training on how to not do that, but in a way that feels really good to you, is easy, and is kind. Right. And we don't have to feel guilty too, on top of it, about those things.
Yeah.
So,
that sounds like gold, because I remember that too. It's like really hard. And what I realized through parenting my kids was, if you say something, you better stick to what you say.
Oh yeah. And then also thinking about what you are saying. Is it something you want to enforce? Because it's going to be your job to hold them accountable for it. So you have to really be careful as to like how many rules you have, how many limits, are they important? So we talk about your value system being a way to lead you to figuring that out. Because a lot of people just assume, well, this is typically how I should parent with these rules, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rules. But do they work for you? Are they work for your personality? Or is it just like an uphill battle trying to fight your kids to do these things when you don't believe that they're really necessary? So that's a big part of it too. That's a really good point. Yeah.
It's so, when you really, look at the whole parenting thing, there's so much to learn. You know what I mean? And if you can grab all the coaches, and there's so many of them out there, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
When I was raising my kids, I did attend some parenting classes, but that was like an in-person. It was so incredibly helpful.
Yes.
But now, like with COVID and all this stuff, everything's remote. So there's no reason why you can't do it. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta do it. The more knowledge you gain, the happier your parenting experience will be. It's not supposed to be that hard.
No.
And there's not supposed to be conflict. And there's ways to say things that are way more effective and way more loving and kind. And I know that's where what every parent wants, like to have harmony in the home. Mm-hmm. So don't just say this is the way it is, like kids are difficult, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
BS, you know what I mean? Like, get some tools, get some strategies. That's why I love bringing you guys on, because you're so amazing in teaching it. Really look more at ourselves. And that's what I hear from every parent coach out there. Like, you got to look at yourself, not look at your kid, not like think something's wrong with your kid. Like, look at yourself, see what you're doing. The kids are not trying to push our buttons. There's a reason, you know what I mean? Like, we have to learn these skills. It's so, so incredibly important. What is your specialty? What age?
I actually do all the way, like I would say 3 to high school, 3 to 18.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, I do high school now. I have a lot of parents that have high schoolers, and it's, oh my God, it's so great. Like, to talk to them, and they are able to switch how they parent like that because they've tried everything.
Yes.
So as soon as they have like another nugget that like usually makes a lot of sense because they've tried it, they've tried the other way, they switch like that. And it's like, oh my gosh, everything changes. So it's so fun to do that. Yeah. So any age.
That's so rewarding. So rewarding. It's just, knowledge is power, as I always say. And when it comes to parenting, you think to yourself, I'm so overwhelmed. There's so many things that I'm doing, but this is the biggest and most important investment of your time that you could ever make, because it's going to impact the rest of your life, your relationship with your child. Like, it's just like the most important thing you could ever do for your family. So,
yeah, that's awesome, Dale. Thank you.
Thank you so much.